is Rachel Ruano, and I'm also the Vice President of the Dean of Students Advisory Council. I am a senior graduating in May, and I'm studying business management currently. So that's also, like Jordan said, kind of what we were all kind of thrown into. I know the job market right now, especially for I guess in-person corporations is kind of difficult right now. So we are super excited and super glad that we could talk to you guys this morning about kind of how to deal with that and making sure we're still making those connections even during a pandemic.
All right, so with that, we're going to get started. So guys, this presentation is titled The Power of Professional Networking. So this is again presented by the Dean Student Advisory Council of the Gary Rollins College of Business. And so with that, as I said, I'm Jordan Camp. I'm a finance major with a minor in economics. This is my last semester at UTC. I'm very sad about that. Hopefully going to come back for a master's degree. But I have to say, networking has changed my college career and my professional career in so many ways. And just to tell you a little bit of a story about myself, thanks to Jacqueline York, who's in this call, I was able to get connected with program directors at Unum my freshman year and was able to obtain an internship there at the ripe old age of 18. So I've been there for 3 years today, actually. Today's my 3-year anniversary at that company. So I'm hoping to, because of that networking, move on, go into a nice career there at that company. So networking is critical, and it's even more critical in this day and age in a COVID environment. So I want to start you guys off with a quote. If you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. So whenever we think about networking, there's always these misconceptions about how scary it is, just how it might feel to be forced into this networking environment. So we've kind of given these the nickname, the networking scaries. So if you feel any of these 6 things, we hope that this presentation really will have an impact on you guys to where, we may alleviate some of that stress that comes with networking. So if you feel like walking up to a complete stranger and striking up a conversation just kind of makes you a little nervous, or if you feel like you're socially awkward and you just can't really bring yourself to do it, if you feel like you don't have anything to say or offer, or if you don't really feel like you can be truthful or be yourself in a networking environment, or if you just kind of have some self-doubt and you're afraid of what somebody might think of you, or if it feels forced, these are all things that we all encounter, and just hope that this presentation will help you guys out a little bit. So networking is all of these things that you see on your screen. It's relationship, it's the career, it's opportunities, it's contacts, it's through the internet, especially right now. So, but honestly, to me, networking is, the majority of networking is about relationships. It's about meeting someone and formalizing a relationship that then can blossom into something magnificent, something that can grow your career. It can be a mentorship. It can be someone who can put you in a position to get a job. There are so many ways that networking can be beneficial, even if it's just getting to know somebody that you can aspire to be when you're older. So there's so much that goes into networking, and it can take many shapes and forms. Rachel, I don't know if you have anything else to add to this, but networking is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I definitely agree. In 100% completion with Jordan that networking has completely shaped my entire college career and is going to continue shaping my professional career as well. Like Jordan said, I think the main part about networking is those relationships and just maintaining those relationships. You don't just go up to somebody and, just introduce yourself and then just kind of walk away. You want to make sure you continue following up with that person, maintaining it, just like Jordan said, potentially for a future career or opportunity, or also just to have that one-on-one connection, maybe like a mentorship, similar to what Jordan was saying. Jacqueline, again, who is on the call, has been a great mentor to us as well, but has also had that relationship with us. So I completely agree with Jordan.
So guys, we then go into why is networking so important, even during COVID. So I've given you a little example about myself and how networking impacted my life. But just to back that up, we've prepared some statistics with you guys to emphasize this point of networking. And so about 85% of all positions are filled through some form of networking, whether it's somebody at the company, or you go to a career fair, or you meet them through LinkedIn, or a mentor at UTC. But 85%, guys, that is astronomical. And then of those, 40% of individuals report more networking online than in person. Now, I'm sure this has gone through the roof since COVID has started. But then we have LinkedIn messages alone have resulted in new opportunities for 35% of networkers. So these are probably pre-COVID statistics. So we can just imagine how much more important networking online is right now.
Awesome. And just to add on to that as well, I mean, if you think about it, the quickest way to find somebody is on social media. So if you need a recruiter or a manager or a potential employee or coworker, the quickest way you can find them is just searching up their name and seeing what you can find on the internet. So those statistics are crazy to me, but um, how to get into the networking process. This is kind of going to show you all how to begin to start that relationship with networking itself, and not to, be any of those networking scaries as we nickname them. We want to make sure that we're assessing ourselves, developing, implementing what we've already assessed and developed, and then again, follow up. As I had mentioned before, you want to make sure you're following up with those relationships to maintain them. So yeah, we can move on to the first step, which is assess. So here it says to reflect and evaluate your motives, academic standing, and professional goals, as well as what you have to contribute to others. So in the first step, you want to make sure you take time to reflect upon yourself and kind of see what you're looking to get out of networking. Could that be potentially, as we've already mentioned, a relationship? Maybe you want to be in the same position as somebody you're networking in the future, maybe somebody who can give you long-term advice, maybe even short-term advice. Are you looking to gain maybe an internship just for the experience? Are you looking to maybe just say, wow, I know this person? So you want to make sure you assess all these things. That way you can also see what you're going to contribute to the relationship as well. Um, and I personally just think that reflection time is going to help you in the long run. That way, maybe you're not, I was going to say maybe picking and choosing who you're networking with, but also just strategically seeing, hey, how can this potentially benefit me? How can having this relationship with this person benefit me? Whether that be mentally, emotionally, physically, obtaining a job one day, or just for experience and gaining that again, um, getting that getting that process of, I know this person. Maybe they can impact my life in a certain way, or maybe I want to be like them when I grow up, as we say. And again, if you want to go to the next slide, Jordan. Again, this is just reiterating the fact that your motivation, you want to identify what it is you want from networking, as I previously said. Your academic standing, your grade in school, your major, and your academic interest. Again, as I said, I'm a business management major, so I potentially wouldn't be looking into maybe getting a mentor or networking in the, what do I say, maybe the medical field. I wouldn't be kind of going and leaning towards that way, because I know that in the future, that's not really where I want to be. So just assessing those things, as well as internships. Also, potentially, you want to make sure if you have an internship or you're going to get an internship, you have the correct academic standing as well in school. And then again, your professional goals, where do you see yourself? What industry or job titles are you interested? You want to make sure you can, place yourself in those situations where you have that one-on-one contact with those business professionals. And I know, just a little boost for the Rollins College of Business, we have plenty of events that the Chattanooga community professionals come in and kind of talk to students and see where they're at, whether that be resume reviews, night of networking, or things of that nature, where they come and kind of see, what graduates will be coming out of UTC and where they can kind of place them within the city of Chattanooga. Okay. And second step will be to develop. So now that you've reflected and you've assessed kind of where you want to go into networking, with this information, you're going to utilize it to begin to prepare and polish your professional presence before networking. So, kind of what this means is, after I've kind of, reflected as to where I want to go, what industry, who I want to talk to, what relationships I want to build, you're going to start saying, okay, do I need to update my resume? Do I need to get my GPA up? Do I need to kind of switch my focus onto, maybe I was interested in business management, but maybe I'm more focused on HR? Whatever the case may be, you want to make sure you're preparing yourself prior to that and have maybe the collected, you know, documents necessary before going into that, such as a resume or such as a business card. Obviously, maybe we're not going to be handing out resumes and business cards, unfortunately, due to COVID, but maybe having it ready online, or having even a portfolio or anything of that nature ready on hand so you can send that via email or anything of that nature. I'm sorry, my screen is frozen. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Jordan, can you take this one because my screen is
Yeah.
frozen?
Um, so so within the development process, you first have to start reviewing and collecting information and organizing. Um, so this means this means taking all of this information that you have assessed, taking what your goals are, taking who you are as a person, taking your abilities, and organizing this into a statement called an elevator pitch. So you'll begin to study yourself and formulate polished sentences into this elevator pitch, which is about a 1 minute long, just kind of short summary of who you are, what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. And then you're going to start practicing this. And we're going to give you guys a template later on and maybe some time to even start one of these. But you'll start practicing and introducing yourself and giving your elevator pitch. Now, this practice can come in many forms, whether you do it in front of a mirror or to stuffed animals or to a friend, to a family member, or, even just walking down the street by yourself when you're going to class or on your way to an interview. This practice is key, because the more you memorize, the more that you practice this, the more you learn it, the easier this will become to do in any sort of a setting, whether it is a career fair on campus or a job interview or even just a networking event to a computer screen. Um, so then you move into identifying who you desire to network with and research them if possible. So when you're going to a career fair, you may not always know all of the companies that are there, but if you know a handful of them that you're interested in, it never hurts to do a little bit of research and figure out what the company does, maybe some initiatives they've started recently, and think of a few questions to ask them. The more you can set yourself apart by doing this little bit of research, the better chances you have of gaining that next opportunity. So guys, now we're going to go into some examples of some elevator pitches. And these were produced in a COVID time over, these people were at home. So these are some online elevator pitches. And so this first example is going to be one that's not too good of, it's probably not one you should model after. And then the second one is a great example of an elevator pitch. So I'm going to have to back out of here really quick.
Hopefully it's not someone I know.
It was by design. So we are going to give you guys two examples of an elevator pitch?
Oh, hey, my name is Allie Bates, and I'm a senior marketing major, at UC in the Rollins College of Business, and I have some pretty redeeming qualities, I would say, about myself. I'm really organized, and I'm really I did really good in school. Like when I was in high school, I was valedictorian of my class. So that's pretty impressive if you ask me. And now I did pretty good in school. I also have an internship, which is pretty impressive as well at TDA. So I think I did pretty good work there. But if you are hiring anytime soon, I would love to work at your company because I heard that it's a really great company and y'all pay really good, which is something I really need. So if you want to talk more, this is my card.
So, guys, this is an example of what not to do when it comes to an elevator pitch. She was very braggy. She didn't make eye contact with the camera. This, would be eye contact with the person. She didn't really do research on the company. She expressed, the only interest in working there is because they pay very well. So this is just a prime example of what not to do. And you can even hear our lovely assistants there laughing at the end of that because they just know this is just not what you're supposed to do. So then I can show you a great example of an elevator pitch once it gets loaded up, of course.
Hi, my name is Anna Pate, and I'm a current senior at UTC. I'm double majoring in marketing entrepreneurship, and over the past few years, I've had the opportunity to join clubs, go on study abroad trips, and have 2 previous marketing internships, where I focused on all things social media. I did some research on your company, and I saw that you're a leading marketing agency. I would love to offer my skills to your organization. If I could give you my business card, then I would love to further this discussion in the near future. Thank you so much for your time.
So guys, that was a perfect example of what a elevator pitch should be. It was concise, but it contained enough information to separate her from the rest of the pack. She looked at the camera. She was able to identify why she wanted to work there. And she identified some of the key aspects of what made her different from the other candidates by pointing towards her experience. So this is a great model for what an elevator pitch should be. And so to give you guys a little bit of a baseline for how to start your elevator pitch, we have a template for you. Now, due to time constraints, I don't believe we'll be able to put you guys into breakout rooms, but this is a good template that we'll provide you guys after this meeting with to start defining, start creating your elevator pitch. So with that, I'll pass it back off to Rachel.
Yeah. So now that you guys hopefully will have that template and kind of get started on practicing that elevator pitch, we have a couple of strategies that you guys can use to go ahead and practice that with other individuals, especially, for example, like I mentioned before, some networking events maybe that are going to happen this spring. Hopefully, hopefully they will. I love those, but the first strategy and approach that we want to give you guys is called the relational approach. So this is just something that you do when you want to find common ground with somebody. So I'm talking to a business professional or really just anybody, and you want to connect with them personally. You want to find something that you have in common with them. So similar, potentially similar to what they believe, similar to what they do, similar interests, anything like that. And you relate that when you're talking to them. The second approach is the give before you get approach. This is something about just having a generous mindset, basically. So, this is what you're focused on to what you can bring to the company, similar to how you just saw Anna Pate do that. She said that she had 2 previous internships where she's worked in social media and she would gladly bring that to the company. That's a prime example right there. The next one is the strategic approach, and this is thinking long term. So this is where you want to establish your goals with either the professional person there that you're speaking with, or really just anybody, but this is more so speaking with the professionals. But you want to establish those long-term goals and potentially how you could potentially hold a position there, or maybe even gain more connections in the future. The last one, or I'm sorry, second to last one is the party hopper approach. And this is where you challenge yourself at these networking events. So you go to pretty much how it sounds, you go to pretty much every person there and you kind of make that connection. At least I believe it's about 5 people to this approach. So you want to go up to at least 5 people and you just want to have those engaging, valuable conversations with them, just a quick introduction with those elevator pitches and kind of move on. You also don't want to like overstay your welcome, if I may. And lastly is the buddy system approach. This is kind of self-explanatory, but it's when you take somebody with you, maybe a friend, a coworker, anything like that, with you when you're meeting these business professionals, or again, anybody, but more so business professionals. And, that way you're not scared, or maybe you're kind of shy and you need somebody to kind of bring you out of your shell. Um, you want to make sure you're comfortable. I mean, if you're going up to a business professional and you're scared and kind of shy, you don't want to talk to them, at least bringing somebody with you will make you a little bit more comfortable prior to, talking to them and giving your elevator pitch. So these are just some strategies and approaches that you can use when you're using your elevator pitch and really just introducing yourself to these business professionals. And okay. So yeah, the third step in the networking process is implementing them. So again, this is where you're going to go ahead and apply all these learned techniques in a networking environment. Again, whether that be a networking event in your professional career or just meeting other students even as well. And we are going to give you guys some tips and tricks for implementing these strategies. And I apologize, I'm having some technical issues, but it's slowly but surely there. So as for your body language when you're in person, mostly, I mean, they're just going to look at you. It's face to face. They're going to look at your eye contact. They're going to look at your posture. They're going to look at your hand movements. And as you see here with the statistic that we provided you, 30% of networkers value eye contact during their interactions. You don't want somebody, as you saw on Allie's elevator pitch, she was just kind of looking up, kind of not really, paying attention to who she was talking to, moving her hands a little bit too much, not really a professional posture, if you will. Also, firm handshakes establish professionalism. So as we kind of were taught within the College of Business, you want to make sure that when you shake somebody's hand, well, maybe that won't happen a lot because of COVID, but when you shake somebody's hand, you want to make sure this part is touching. So you want to firmly grasp their hand. You don't want to, kind of skeleton it, if that makes sense. The next one again is strong posture is important when establishing credibility and confidence. If I'm kind of slouching, or if I'm kind of like whatever, like just kind of standing here, that it's not really, an engaging conversation, it won't really establish that credibility aspect. Speaking with conviction, passion, and drive can be demonstrated through tone. Again, if you're a little bit more shy and a little bit more reserved and you speak kind of quietly, you might want to use, again, that buddy system approach where somebody who you're comfortable with will make you kind of stand out and give you that confidence and that boost. Again, thanks to COVID, we also have some virtual tips for you. So on video calls, you want to make sure you're dressing appropriately. Obviously, maybe that won't be suit and tie tux, but maybe a UTC t-shirt or a sweater or anything of that nature. You don't want to look like you just woke up. Log on to virtual events in a timely manner and be prepared. You want to make sure that you're there at least, maybe I would say about 5 minutes before the event actually starts, at least logged on in the waiting room. You don't want to be showing up if this was event was at 11 and it's 11:05, you don't want to show up late. Connect yourself professionally using proper language and business etiquette. Use proper language. Don't probably use slang, no ain'ts or anything like that as an example for us country folk. And using the Mr., Mrs., yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. You probably wouldn't want to call business professionals by their name unless told to you. So I would introduce myself. My name is Rachel Ruano. Thank you for having me, Mr. Blank, Mrs. Blank, until they say, no, feel free to call me Jordan Camp. So something like that. And lastly, again, I don't want to say this is the most important, but I definitely think after you've already applied everything, you want to make sure, again, you're continuing to establish that value and maintaining that relationship that you already formed during that networking process. I mean, you've talked to them, you've probably emailed back and forth. So you want to make sure you're following up with them and just maintaining that connection. That way they'll put a name to a face and also potentially even think about you in the future when a potential job opportunity pops up or anything of that nature. And I'll go ahead and let Jordan explain some networking techniques when you are following up.
Yeah, guys. So the follow up is quite possibly one of the most important parts of networking, whether that's sending out a business card or giving them a business card within when you meet them at that career fair, or um, and then a timely follow-up email or a thank you message. So this is something that you'll want to do like the next day after you meet somebody, just to be on their mind. In this email, you may want to schedule a time to meet back up or schedule another event just to stay connected with this person. So that leads into the next one. So you definitely want to be connected with this person on a generally regular basis, especially a mentor or somebody that's guiding you through your career. So it's also important to maintain an accurate calendar and schedule. That's just a little something to really help you stay organized, especially if you're doing a lot of networking events and a lot of meetings with a lot of different people. Um, then you want to stay active and responsive on networking platforms. So LinkedIn, if you are actively on LinkedIn and you are trying to network and you're trying to get a job through that, you'll want to respond quickly. This lets them know that you are attentive and you are actively pursuing that opportunity and really want to be engaged with that person. So keeping these four things in mind, it's very important within that follow-up portion of networking. And so with that, we do have a little bit of time for some questions for Rachel and myself. Feel free to ask us anything about networking or networking virtually during COVID.
So Jordan, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, I think something that also to keep in mind when you're trying to network virtually is also make sure that you're updating your either LinkedIn or professional profiles in any sort of sense, because that's really the only way they're kind of going to see what you're doing currently, or maybe even a post about what you're doing within UTC, any organizations that you're doing, because we can't really have that face-to-face connection where, hey, how's your week going? What are you doing? It's more so, hey, maybe if I post about it, somebody will see it and they'll see kind of what I did this week. So I just want to encourage you all to be doing that as well, since we can't sort of meet face to face currently.
Yeah, I really appreciate that reminder and encouragement, Rachel, to continue to use some of these connective technologies like LinkedIn. Handshake has some connectivity and some social connection built into it as well. But I think if you go out there and you're not overly comfortable using those platforms, and they're becoming more and more important aspects of your networking game plan or strategy, it's going to be really, really apparent. So I think it's the whole idea about, I'm not going to start to build a house until I know how to use the tools. and friends, your career is very much like a house. It's got a good foundation. It's got to be comfortable, but it's also got to meet the needs of the individual, right? So I think it's important to understand how these tools work. And so using LinkedIn, Handshake, and some forms of social media, those can be really, really powerful. More or less an e-portfolio or any of these types of technologies, personal websites, etc. They can be really, really important, but only to the extent that they're accurate and that they are on brand with who you are projecting yourself as, and that it's being viewed and shared with industry professionals that that you really want to know and to impress and to spend more time in conversation with. So great encouragement, Rachel. Thank you so much to you and to Jordan for sharing sharing what you've learned about networking during the pandemic. Any other questions or comments from other students or participants?
Can you go back to the slide with the template for the elevators thing real quick? I meant to take a picture of it, but I didn't get to.
There you go.
Thank you.
I was gonna ask, I guess, what are some things that you guys have done in this time because of the pandemic that maybe you've changed your networking skills? You know, besides everything that you've mentioned, are there some recommendations you have that you guys have implemented?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah. So one thing that I have made sure to do is just be intentional. So you have to work at maintaining your relationships now. Well, you always have to do that, of course, but you have to be mindful of setting time aside to meet with your mentor. To like, I have to actively remember to set aside time to talk to Jacqueline, which is something that ordinarily I would just waltz right into the career
Yeah.
and just sit down at a chair and talk to her. So being intentional and being mindful about it is something that I personally have had to kind of work with, because in-person networking just kind of happens for me. And the same thing goes for my work mentor. So that's where most of my networking has been focused lately, is mentorships and growing. So setting aside time to speak with him as opposed to just walking to the cafeteria and seeing him at Unum. So that's really what I've had to change. And I don't know about you, Rachel.
I would say definitely I've started utilizing my resources more. Not that I didn't before, but especially all the mentors and services that the College of Business provides itself. And again, like Jordan said, maintaining those relationships, but also really utilizing and talking to them more as to how they can kind of branch out and connect you to people. Again, that's one of the perks and greatest things about networking is that you know somebody who knows of somebody who knows of somebody. So even if I can't meet this person in person, at least they can connect me through an email or maybe through a LinkedIn message or anything like that. But just making sure I talk to them and say, hey, I'm looking to maybe get an internship or anything of that nature. Do you know of anybody that I could reach out to via email or via Zoom to set up a one-on-one call so they can potentially put me on the right track? So again, just utilizing the connections and the relationships and just really the opportunities that you have all around you and kind of talking to them so that they can connect you with the right people during this time, since we can't really in person. But yeah.
And then one other thing, for those people that maybe are just now starting out with their networking journey, just making sure that your LinkedIn is updated with your updated resume, and just because that is what these recruiters and these people are seeing is your LinkedIn profiles or your Handshake profiles. So just making sure that those stay up to date with all the wonderful things that you guys are doing,
Right.
and staying active on those. It's so critical, especially right now, because that's kind of the only way to, or one of the only ways to really meet people in a professional setting. So that's probably the biggest thing when it comes to currently networking.
There is go ahead, Silas.
Thank you, Dr. Liddell. I have a quick question about regarding electronic business cards, because obviously I like the point about in the elevator pitch about exchanging cards. It's a great way to get information back and forth really quickly in what sometimes is a really fast-paced scenario. If it's like an expo or a business conference, there's lots of people coming and going, and at some point, if that happens a lot, like you'll run out of cards if you're talking to a lot of people. Are there any in particular applications, say there's a slew of them online, but I was just wondering if there are any in your experience that are digital, that would be on a phone that might use a QR code or something similar that work better in terms of functionality than others.
I know that you can create them on Canva. So if you guys don't know of Canva, you can make posters, flyers, business cards, thank you letters, wedding invitations, like anything. You can make anything on there. So I would suggest that. As for QR codes, I'm not really technically inclined as to how those work, but I'm pretty sure if you create one, you can add that onto the electronic business card. And then again, like I said, maybe save it as a PDF or even attach it as your signature when you're emailing somebody. That would be also be a good idea, but I know that you can create them on Canva. I'm not sure if that's quote unquote the best way, but I know that's one of the ways that you can do that as well.
Yeah, I think connecting with folks really quickly at an expo like that. I mean, I've seen people that have downloaded the LinkedIn app on their phone, and so they can do a quick connection within a geographic proximity. So I know that is some functionality that's there as well. But to go back deeper into the chat, so Mo mentioned just the importance of, it's not just about meeting people, but it's about growing that relationship, and it's building depth. And so it's coming up with 2 or 3 kind of takeaways. And so as Silas mentioned, if the person you're trying to engage with, if you've run out of business cards, it's perfectly appropriate to ask for a business card, and then later that same day, send them off a note, share your contact information, share your resume, share a little bit of your elevator pitch, and then a plan to connect next. Because again, I know too many people that that get on LinkedIn and act like it's Candy Crush, like it's this huge like time suck that's going to be like this amazing thing that's going to help their life make sense. It doesn't. LinkedIn can be a powerful amplifier, but again, too many people focus on breadth and coverage and not necessarily depth and connection. So again, understand your motivation. I really appreciate the way that Rachel and Jordan spoke to the idea about really assessing what your desires and drives are, and then go forward to develop, implement, and then connect deeply through the process. I think that those are really, really smart steps. And I apologize that we've run over a couple of minutes, but this conversation is so important. And again, we're in your debt to both of you and to our colleagues over in the Rollins College of Business for making yourselves available to present on this hugely impactful topic. Thank you again, all. So we'll go ahead and pause the recording here, and then if you all are interested in joining us over in the daily debrief, we'd love to see you over there so we can kind of unpack and reflect on what we've talked about today. Thank you so much.